Chester Racecourse lies at the very heart of the town centre, just a stone's throw from the High Street. Known as the Roodee, the track has become famous in recent years for being a sensational modern sporting venue. However, part of what makes Chester special is the sense of history here. This is a track that has seen horse racing take place on the turf for no fewer than 480 years, and this feat has recently been recognised by the Guinness World Record books. They are now the proud title holders of the world's oldest racecourse in operation. To commemorate such a year and such a title, Chester Racecourse have put on an historical exhibition in the local museum, and part of that is a short film explaining why the past is so important to Chester's future.
During Roman times, this was actually the port of Chester.
The original wall of the city here, you can see part of that in the D stand. They're really fine, great big masonry blocks which show the location's history as part of the Roman harbour.
In the village of Harden, there was a disaster when the wife of the governor was out praying in the churchyard and this huge timber cross collapsed on her and killed her. So the governor had this cross dispatched into the sea. It came to settle on this little eye in the sand. That is the Roodee, the island of the cross. 1533, there was an annual football match, and there were so many injuries caused by this match that the mayor of Chester banned it. The local equine enthusiasts asked the Lord Mayor if they could start running a horse race, an annual horse race. Obviously considered to be much more genteel and safer than a football match.
For hundreds of years, people have been coming to this location to enjoy horse racing. There is a really nice balance when you come onto the site. There's still a feeling that you're there with all the people that have been here in the hundreds of years before.
There's no doubt about it that it's a course where horses can learn a lot in one race. You'll see some very, very good horses here have run and won here and then go on to do great things.
The most famous horse to win a Derby trial and then win the Derby was Shergar.
He was so smooth, so fluent, nothing got near him, and to watch it as someone who loved horses was very, very special.
Seeing Enable win here at Chester has been a fantastic experience.
To win the Oaks, the Irish Oaks, the Yorkshire Oaks, she's won 2 Arcs. I mean, she is just a superstar, and we are just so lucky that we got to see her on the Roodee.
Brown Panther was the apple of my eye. He's the best horse by far I've ever owned. He was a Group 1 winner. We sent him to the Chester May Festival. I've got my name up on the board there at Chester with Brown Panther winning the Ormond. Owning a horse, the whole buzz that goes with it, and having a runner at Chester, my home track, was the start really of a love affair that lasts to this day.
The first time I've ever raced at Chester was in what's called the Chester Cup, and I knew nothing about it. My trainer introduced me to it, and he said, you bought Bulwark, and Bulwark would qualify for the Chester Cup. Towards the end of the race, I asked somebody who won the race, and he said, Bulwark, and from his betting slipped down, and so I thought, wow, it's my horse. That moment is what made me fall in love with racing.
The Guinness World Record for the world's oldest racecourse in operation is something that the Chester team have been working towards for a while. But they're a racecourse driven by innovation and improvements, and that's just what they've been doing over the winter.
Being the oldest racecourse is fantastic, but what it's all about is today and what we do and how we do it better than everybody else, because everybody is competing for the leisure pound, so it's so important that every year racegoers come back to Chester and see something new, something innovative, something better. And so yeah, we've spent nearly £2 million this year on new facilities, and we keep doing that because we need to keep the customers coming back and being relevant really.
The history of the track, how important is that for you guys in terms of the heritage and using that as a selling point?
Yeah, heritage is key. I mean, we sit, you sit in the grandstands right next to the Roman walls. That Henry G started racing it was proclaimed by Henry VIII as the place to go racing. And so, you know, heritage is the key. It's where we started, it's where it all came from. And, you know, for us to then lead the way in innovative things on a racecourse is so important.
Obviously Chester has some pretty famous names attached to it in terms of people who like to have runners here. You obviously get Aidan O'Brien over from Ireland and on the racing side, and then the Michael Owen factor, Marwan Kukash. Is that something that looks after itself, or have you had to sort of push that forwards?
I don't think anything ever looks after itself. You've got to keep pushing, keep trying. You know, we started conversations with Aidan 12, 13 years ago, and that's when he started coming over. And others followed because, you know, he uses it as a great derby trial because it is a good derby trial. Everyone says, well, how good was that horse when it won the Vars or the D Stakes? And you don't know until it runs in the Derby or a horse runs in the Oaks. We saw Enable and everyone said, is that any good? And, you know, in the end it was a very good horse because it's a good track for learning and for bringing a horse on for the Derby and the Oaks. So, you know, Chester is unique for that, and that's a great selling point for the May meeting.